All right. I hope everybody's doing great. This is Jose Trujillo. I happen to be the world's greatest living artist, and I want to do a painting for you guys today. I want to show you how I do one of my sky paintings. For better or worse, here we are again. All right. I hope everybody's doing great. Let's see. Let's make it a little bit, there we go. That way we can all see a little bit better. Good. Very good. So this is going to be a sky, okay? One of my favorite skyists, if there's such a thing as a skyist. Like a landscapist and seascapist, skyscapist. Is Constable. Those of you who haven't had a chance to check out John Constable's work, I'm sure you've seen it. Cookie jars. Now it's considered very old school. He was a romantic, okay? Romantic painter. Not that he liked to talk to the ladies, I'm sure he did, but romantic in the sense of the style of art. It's romanticism. That was the thing happening. The great romantics were him, John Constable. What's the other cat's name? William Turner from the Pirates of the Caribbean. No, another William Turner. And Eugène Delacroix. That guy was actually the greatest of them all. The greatest cat of the romantics. And that guy actually was considered the first colorist artist. Delacroix guy. Very interesting guy. Very interesting guy. He was like a, he was an interesting character. If you ever have a chance of reading about not just the work, because the work is insane. He's a very, very, very hardworking guy. Very also his ideas I think were kind of weird. But whatever, whatever they thought that was working for their time. He's very wealthy. So I think that added to his bullshit. But aside from that, he was a great artist. So let's remove that aside. And he was a really good artist. He was friends with, I think, Theodore Géricault. I think he posed a few times for him. For the raft, I think. The raft is one of the poses he did. The raft of the Medusa. My wife's seen that painting. I've never been able to. I haven't, I guess. I didn't see that painting. She saw it in one of her trips to Europe, so I'm kind of jello about that. Kind of sour about it. That I haven't seen it. It's one of my favorite paintings. It's really, it really encompasses the whole notion of being a romantic painter, right? It's really just drama, a lot of drama, and not drama like in the Baroque, where you have the chiaroscuro drama only. Like these guys, they have chiaroscuro. It's like for those of you who don't know, right? Those of you who know, they're probably listening to me and be like, I know, dude, I know. I'm talking to the people who don't know, okay? It's not just like light and dark. Chiaroscuro is a very fancy term for light and dark, right? Concentrated amounts of light and dark. It wasn't romantic like that, like just light and dark. Like this guy's, it was like theater on a canvas. And that's why I love Kehinde. I think Kehinde's doing something like that with a twist. Kehinde, I think. Kehinde Wiley. Great portrait artist. Storyteller. He's doing stuff like that. His work reminds me a lot of Géricault's work. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Theodore Géricault, or Géricault, or however you want to pronounce it. He was more of a neoclassicist, I think, but he was definitely at the forefront of that movement, of the Romantic movement, without really, maybe even being completely aware of it. Anyways, Jean Constable was famous for skies, right? I think he was one of the first also plein air painters. A lot of people don't think about plein air painters up until Monet and the gang, right? But Monet and the gang, it's like they just needed a little van to be like Monet and the gang. A lot of people don't think about plein air painter before that, but plein air painter was actually something already happening, but it's like it wasn't well respected, let's call it that, unless you were like a big name, then like Constable, right? Then people understood that you were doing some or what could it be, like some clinical observation of nature or something. I don't know, I just made that term up. I don't know if it's true. Anyways, so that's what was going on. John Constable was doing a lot of studies of skies. That's the thing about plein air painting, you know? People just call it studies. Or if I do something like this, people are like, oh, that's a lovely study. Like, no, it's not a study. I study to do this. It's not a study. This is it right here. Like, this is not a preparation for something else. This is it right here. Right? But these guys broke the ground for that, right? Like today, we're able to say that. We're able to be like, this is a fine work of art, you know. But these guys broke the ground for that. These guys actually took studies, serious, right? Very serious. I think they behaved more like scientists rather than painters. They were observers of nature. Way before the gang, right? The Impressionist gang, who were famous for that, for being observers of the changes of light throughout the day. Man, I sound like I know what the hell I'm talking about. You know why? Because I am. So yeah. So that's where I get the whole idea of the sky thing, right? I get the whole idea of the sky thing from the Romantics. I love how they did it. Of course, the sky that the Impressionists and the Post-Impressionists, especially the Impressionists, of course, that did was more atmospheric, right? There's more atmosphere. Because they were trying to depict the changes, the cyclical changes of light. I made that up. I don't know if that's true or not. But it sounds super awesome to call it cyclical changes of light. And that's what they were doing. You know? When it was like, oh, it's 10 o'clock already. 10 a.m. Time to retouch that canvas or paint a new one at that time. And then he wouldn't touch it again until 10 a.m. again the next day. You know, and then on and on and on and on. Oh, it's 6 p.m. Let's do some haystacks at 6 p.m. It was sort of like blogging. Now, this is way too genius, okay? If you ever hear someone else saying that, know where it came from. I feel like they were blogging. Personally. I don't think they were scientists. And a lot of people are like, oh, they were doing some, scientific approach to painting. No, dude, they were blogging. They just didn't have cameras back then. So they're like, dude, let's record this canvas. They're doing what I'm doing. It's just that I'm not doing it with time. I'm not doing it like, But they were like, it's 10 a.m. Let's blog about this, So they were really talking about a point of view of a certain time of the day. How the sun looked, right? We live! Oh yeah, we are. So that's really what they were doing, They were just blogging. I think the Impressionists got famous for being bloggers. Jared Sinberger is asking, do you use solid colors or mix your colors? DM me in case. This is a great question. Now this question It's always popping up. This question pops up like 10 times a day. Guys, the only people that don't mix colors are people who are starting out, for the most part, or people that are using straight out of the tube. I'm going to show you one of my favorite Viridians, Viridian Hue. Okay, I like to use Winton. This is one of the brands that I like to use, Winsor Newton, Winton. They're supposed to be student grade, but they really are not, because they're highly pigmented. So anyone that tells you no, it's not true, I've seen the pros, the big daddy pros use them. So it's safe to say that you can use them. People that ask me this is almost every day I get, artists that ask me this. When you're creating art, you're supposed to mix it. They have to be mixed. If you are just using it out of this like that, guys, you are either painting very small work or you're painting very slow, not fast like me. And some of them are actually harder than others. Like Viridian by this brand is very soft. It's a very soft paste. I hope you guys can see that right here. It's a very soft paste, right? But if you get it by another brand, it's probably a little harder. So I pre-mix all colors depending on how soft they are. Like I'm kind of gauging it. If you're not mixing, you're probably doing impasto, or you haven't gone through the learning curve of oils yet. Impasto means you're using it for texture. And it's a very modern, well, now it's a postmodern way of painting. And a lot of people call it Russian Impressionism, right? I think a lot of Russian expressionist and impressionistic artists do that. I love doing that too. It's basically you're doing kind of like Impressionism, but with like big globs, kind of like Van Gogh, right? Very, very, very hard. So I hope I answered the question without being too all over the place. All artists that do this for a living, they mix the color. You're either mixing it here or you're mixing it on the palette with medium. If you're just using it out of the tube, you're having a very hard time with it, unless you like to do the whole impasto thing, which I love using, but you will. It's going to be harder on your hand, right? Because you're not doing the whole now you're doing the whole Van Gogh thing, which is very, very heavy paint. So I like to pre-mix depending on what I'm going to use. For example, if I know that I'm going to do one of these paintings and I'm not going to do a heavy impasto painting, I'm going to pre-mix. If I'm going to commission a painting, someone commissioned me a painting, and they're like, dude, I love how you use the palette knife. I'm not going to pre-mix the paint. I'm going to use it out of the tube. Because I know that they, for impasto, it needs to be very, what would you call that? The consistency needs to be harder, right? So yeah. I hope I tackled this question because it gets asked in different ways. Like, what is the ratio that you should mix it? I don't use ratios because I use different brands of paint and I use different colors, and every color. That's why you have to go through a learning curve, right? Because every color is slightly thicker, heavier, right? Every color is slightly thicker. Like Mars Black and Lamp Black are very soft, right? But if you're using something like Cobalt Blue, especially by these brands, by the Winton brands, it's going to be very thick. Or you're using ultramarine, French ultramarine is very thick. So it's you kind of have to figure out how much oil you're going to use or how much solvent you're going to use. Something like that. So yeah. Hope I made any sense. So I used to ask this question too. I used to ask myself this question. I think it's a very valid question. Like, do you mix it? Uh, and the reason I asked this question is because I didn't know either, right? And then I started hanging out with pro painters, and I was like, oh man, they all mix. I'm the only one not mixing. You know, it's sort of like if it's sort of like asking if you prime a canvas and you bought the canvas, right? Well, if you bought the canvas from the store, right, like off the rack, you don't need to prime it. They already primed it. But if you're buying it on a roll, you have to make sure whether it's primed or not, or how much priming it has, right? Because if you're buying it on a roll, sometimes the priming is not very well primed. It just kind of has a quote there, you know, and they call it primed because they're trying to save on that and sell you the canvas roll. So it's a very valid question, but it's something that you have to figure out how are you going to use the medium, right? Are you going to use it for how thick you want to use the medium is what I'm trying to say. Because it's the same thing with primes. I think I've never really talked about this. It's the same thing with priming a canvas. Like, I know for some work, I don't like priming my canvas. I like it kind of Picasso-esque. It doesn't look very primed. It looks kind of, you know, or has very thin layers of prime, a very thin layer. And for other works, I used to do more realistic stuff. I played even with a little bit of hyperrealism. I realized that my canvas needed to be extremely primed, and it had to look, have that almost glass feeling to it, right? A very soft feeling to it. And that meant that I had to prime it like 4 different times, and sand it down every time I primed it with a thinner grade of sandpaper, right? Something like that. Whoops! Sorry about that, guys. So this is pretty much it. I hope that this makes any sense to someone out there watching this. I'm coming back with the palette knife now. And this is to add the je ne sais quoi, okay? This is to add my je ne sais quoi. A little bit of mystery. Can't tell the whole story. I mentioned before, you're telling the whole story. I don't know, maybe that's your gig. That's not my gig. I don't like telling the whole story because then it kind of loses the mystery of the painting, right? Like, we know that there's a sky there, but is it sunset? Well, yeah, it has orange and whatnot, but what kind of sky is it? Why is it doing that? Then this way I get to, in a way, play in my little world, play as maybe John Constable played with the canvas, or the great Turner played with his big canvases of skies. I mean, after all, that's, you know, we're trying to express something, right? I think there were also, like today, a lot of great artists they're mixing realism with abstraction. I think that these cats were doing that too, you know, Turner and especially Turner with his marine skies and all of that, his naval skies. Something weird's happening there. It's like, what's going on? I don't know. If I knew, it wouldn't be a painting. It'd be a photograph, or it'd be something else. I don't know. Something is going on. I know that I've seen it before, right? I know that I've seen it. I know that I've experienced it in my mind, in my maybe a physical experience. Maybe it's a mixture of the morning and the afternoon. Maybe it's nothing solid, you know, and that's what makes it's a bit ambiguous, you know, and that's what makes it so interesting for me, right? I know, the person that is going to add this to their collection. Check it out. But yeah, guys, going back to that, painting out of the tube is something that usually, when we're new, we do that. We don't know yet, and we do that. Not always, of course, but for the most part. Especially artists who are very formally trained and whatnot, and paint, especially what do you call it, portraits. They pre-mix just about all of their skin tones first. And I don't mean just pre-mixing in terms of finding the right tones, but also using the medium already, like mixing it with the medium and having it ready. They like to do that kind of deal, a lot of portrait artists. I don't. I do it on the fly. I'm local like that. Maybe because in my mind I'm thinking that I'm the world's greatest living artist, and how would that guy behave? I remember seeing what's his name? The guy who painted the Queen of England, that famous portrait painter. What's that guy's name? What's his name? The guy who did Kate Moss, and I forgot his name. How can I forget his name? Anyone remember his name? The guy who painted the Queen? What's his name? Anyways, I used to see not long ago some of his, when he was painting, a little clips of when he was painting, and man, that guy, he looked like he had it down, but in my mind I knew that he was doing some of what I do, which is improvising. That's what I feel, anyways. Like part of his je ne sais quoi is improvisation. If you're improvising, you're tapping into the unknown. And if you're tapping into the unknown, I feel like that's when you're creating artwork. You're not always creating artwork because you know what the next step is. You're painting something if you're doing that, you know? But there's moments, for me anyways, I don't know. I can't speak for everyone, of course. There's moments that I have to tap into the unknown. I have to do something that I haven't done before. And then that ensures that I stay fresh, right? I stay alert. Because if I stay alert, then that means that I don't know what I'm doing completely. And if I don't know what I'm doing completely, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It means I'm stretching myself. I'm not in the same water anymore. You know? If I always know what I'm doing, then that means that I become stagnant and repetitive. But if I don't know what I'm doing, always, then that means that, I don't know, I'm doing something good. Yeah. It's okay to not know what you're doing a little bit, you know. It's all right to feel like, oh man, what do I do next? I think those are some of the best moments when you don't know what to do and you're like, oh, what do I do next? And that means that you're in an uncomfortable place, right? You're at a fork and you got to choose. It doesn't mean that you sit there and you look at it. I talked extensively about that. Like, don't do that. Unless that's your gig. Don't let me stop you. But if you're at a fork, like, make a decision. Like, what do I do now? What do I do now? Boom! You know? Like, make a decision and it'll start showing you the next step and the next step and the next step. So I hope I made any sense for anyone out there, guys. If not, that's fine. I'm the world's greatest living artist. The name is Jose Trujillo. if I believe in reincarnation. Maybe I do, I don't know. I'm a couple of artists in the same body. Here we go, guys. Check it out. Way too fun. If it ain't fun, I'm not doing something right. Guys, if you guys like what you saw here, give me some hearts. Give me some corazones. Boom, 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 boom. Give me some hearts. Tag a buddy. Tag an artsy-fartsy buddy and tell him what we're doing here. We're doing magic here every day. Who knows? Maybe they learn something. Maybe they learn what to do, or maybe they learn what not to do. I hope you guys had an amazing moment here, and you guys continue to have an amazing day. I'm certainly gonna go work on another painting. Have an amazing day today. Take care, guys. Till next time, all right? Oh, look, right there. It doesn't say Trujillo. It says world's greatest living artist, in short. Take care, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.